Oh, thank God. I can hear myself again.
You can.
How does it sound?
Absolutely handsome.
Oh, thank you.
You sound so masculine.
Thank you.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the live stream of the Paranormal Portal. How you guys doing out there? I hope it's some of you out there. I don't know who's out there.
Not yet.
Nobody's out there yet?
Hopefully. No, I don't see anybody.
Well, I guess it's just you and I, Don.
Well, I guess we'll just talk to each other like we do every Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah, might as well just stick to the recipe that works,
The
right?
thing that works, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyone here?
Anybody out there?
Out there.
Notifications.
This is the Paranormal Portal, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm joined by my good friend and special guest and guest host and jack of all trades, Mr. Don Longbeard.
Hello.
That was quite a title you got there, Don.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you went with the jack of all trades, not the other one.
I don't know the other one. Oh, the master of none?
Well, no, I've mastered a few. Not good ones, but I've mastered a few.
Okay, I'm just reaching out here, Don. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time anyway.
Hey, we just got a new subscriber on our Facebook or our YouTube channel.
Outstanding.
Nice.
Welcome to YouTube, our YouTube, Paranormal Portal YouTube. 3 people are watching now, so there's somebody else. 2 people.
Wow.
That's outstanding. Well, welcome to the broadcast, whoever's out there and whoever's here and whoever stumbles in. We don't necessarily know what the hell we're doing, so
Come on in, join us.
You'd think we'd promote this a little bit ahead of time, but we did mention it on the live stream or on the live broadcast on Saturday that we'd be doing this every Wednesday as just an opportunity for us to reach out and meet you guys and maybe let you meet us a little more than just hearing our voices. And as you can see, Don does have a beard.
Yes.
Look at this. I'm getting your beard. What in the hell are you panting for? You just wrecked it. I was in a good place about that a minute ago.
It's called Billy Goatin'. I like the Billy Goats.
Well, they like you too, Don, I'm sure.
Gosh.
So here we are on the Paranormal Portal, ladies and gentlemen. I should probably breathe before I attempt to say a whole sentence, but we are here and we are going to discuss things that we normally discuss, like on TFR live broadcast for the Paranormal Portal. So sit back, relax. The chat room is always open on YouTube. I don't know who's in here, if anybody is, but we would love for you to take part of it and let us know if something's on your mind. Don or myself will be watching it, so we can certainly respond to any questions or any comments you might have right in line with the broadcast. So we hope you like and subscribe the videos that we do. Of course, we're taking another night out of our lives to bring this to you because of first and foremost it's a labor of love for both of us. It's something we both love doing and are just thrilled to be able to do, and we're even more thrilled that people tend to be interested enough to tune in. So Don, will you post another thing on the Facebook about this being live now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Unfortunately, I still haven't gotten YouTube to load in correctly.
And maybe that's what's going on, is that people just it isn't popping up like it should be.
Oh.
I don't know. That's very, very curious. But we are live. This is live. This is October 18th, rather. 18th live. So.
Oh, wow. It's the 18th already, huh?
It is, yeah. The Halloween is coming up fast.
The Halloween.
What are you going to be for Halloween, Don?
Aren't I scary enough?
You are, but I just thought maybe you'd go for something contrary.
Contrary. Oh, something calm and
like
cool and
a princess.
a princess. I'll go as Mulan.
Yeah. No.
No.
I'm wearing my outfit now. I'm going to be a pumpkin.
Oh, jeez.
This is it. I got orange on. I'm kind of in the festive spirit. So
all right.
It counts, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It does definitely count.
Okay, good. Because I don't know. I love Halloween and I love the idea of dressing up, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work getting dressed every day. You guys don't realize it, but I'm sitting here in my boxers. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa. We're not doing mortgages.
Oh, yeah. Like the commercial.
Awkward.
Right. Awkward much. Thanks, Tom. No, I'm just kidding. I have pants on and socks, and we're sitting here in the
Oh,
Paranormal
wow.
Portal Studios.
You do have pants on. You usually wear shorts.
Yeah, I do. But we did a Walmart run today, and
Ah.
oh man, I appreciate that Walmart has great prices and all that stuff, but oh my God, that store is huge, and it takes forever to get through there. It really does. I never look forward to Walmart runs. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I'm not much of a shopper anyway, though. I prefer to know what I want, go to the store that has it, walk in, get it, and get out. But unfortunately, that doesn't always end up to be the case at Walmart. Because you've got to go through 15 aisles of other things at least.
And that's ridiculous, because they put all those impulse buys right there, all the batteries and all the candy and all the hot food they're trying to shove into your down your throat, and just it gets crazy sometimes.
It does. And it's all part of our society where, we're
a society of convenience.
Yeah, we're a spontaneous society, right? So we know we're going to get some, maybe a bucket of paint, for instance. Right. And then to get to the bucket of paint, you've got to walk through housewares, toys, clothes, and so many other sections, and they stack that crap just with psychological precision, like they're just trying to drag you in. It's like, no, I just want paint. But you end up with a whole cart full of shit or junk you didn't need. Sorry.
Well, that's all right. Hey, guess who's listening?
I understand that's French, though. So.
Guess who's listening?
Who?
Marshall,
brother. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, this is the first live stream he's made it with us, so congratulations and welcome.
It appears to be working. I don't know how long that's going to last, but we don't have a real strong track record. So
we usually get about 45, maybe an hour in, and then everything just kind of goes. Bloop.
Yeah, we get like a part 1 and part 2, and then a 5-minute part 3 sometimes. It'll just be a whole puzzle of streams. So
it's just a puzzle.
I think it's really because, and I've said it before, I think I'm asking too much of my computer, this laptop, and it's a hell of a laptop, don't get me wrong, but I think I'm asking a lot of it, but that's why we've ended up doing these live streams on off nights when we're not also broadcasting to TFR, because, to split that and have it carrying even more of a burden, it just doesn't work. It always ends up in a tough place, so.
Yeah, it happens. Hey, Naga, how you doing, buddy?
All right. People are streaming in here, so that's awesome. Thank you guys for being here, and thanks for being a part of the show, and we hope you enjoy the ride. So as you can see, we've got the Paranormal portal behind us. Yeah, I changed it up. I grabbed a different one for tonight's show because I think the other one was too bright, and it was, and I also have been stretching the screen even more, so it's not as wrinkly. Yeah, nice, Don. I was going to say nice job, Don, but it came out nice, John.
Nice, John.
Yeah.
So make sure you scrub me at least once a week.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
You just can't buy this. You can't buy this entertainment, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know if anybody would.
I know. That's why it's free. So anyway, but it's been a really eventful bunch of weeks and in leading up to the Halloween season, but not so much for the Paranormal Portal. We're just kind of doing our thing as usual, but I feel like something's poking in my head up here, so I'm trying to figure out what it is from my hat, but I have to wear a hat. So
oh gosh, you have a beautiful head of hair.
Well, thank you, Don. We'll talk after the show.
Why, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. But, there's just so much going on in the world right now, and it's just a really, really confusing mess. I don't know. I can't even handle turning on the news or anything anymore, just because it's either so full of misleading, narratives, or it's just such a slanted narrative that I just can't handle it anymore. You done?
Me? Udon?
Yeah.
Udon noodles?
Do you ever watch the news?
I don't.
Okay.
And simply for the fact you said, it's like life is scary enough without having to watch it, worldwide, And,
I know.
Everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks, it's insane, and it just puts you in a bad place, I think. So
I think it does.
I selectively pull my news from the internet, and I filter it, and I look at what I want and throw away the rest.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I would much rather crawl through some terribly haunted demonic crawl space than to turn on the news, And I don't know. At least with the demonic crawl space, you know what you're getting, and you can pretty much count on something being really screwed up about it. But on the news, it's so many levels of psychological warfare going on right now
that's
that
exactly what it is.
It's just. I mean, it's absolutely mind-numbing. It should be criminal, but be it for me to dictate morals. But anyway, here we are, and we are going to be going through, just a whole hodgepodge of stories as we dig them up and stuff, because, we're just thrilled to do this in midweek because, for me personally, it just gets to be such a long stretch between doing the shows Friday, Saturday, and then nothing.
Yeah.
Go
through withdrawals.
I do. I really do, honestly.
I do.
It's like, what do I do? I sit here and come up and stare at my laptop and stare at the studio, and it's like,
what am I going to do?
I wish I could talk right now. And then I'll turn on the CFR and listen to whatever's going on there. It's like, should I call in? I want to be a part of this. I want to be part of it all. But ladies and gentlemen, I will be on Frank Castle's show on Saturday night, so please tune in. I'm looking forward to that. Frank and I had a great conversation today on Facebook Messenger, and just it's just really cool, and I'm hoping it's a good show, and so I hope you guys tune in, and hopefully it'll be a chance to also introduce the Paranormal Portal to a whole nother audience as well. Right. We being on the tail end of the lineup in most cases. The only one later than us, I think, is Jimmy G on Saturday. But, I just think it's hard to reach newer people because of what time we're on. So I'm hoping at least to, introduce us to, people that may want to check out the archives and see what we've been up to. If they can't stay up for the regular show, at least they can stream it and check it out and check out the, Facebook and YouTube pages, of course.
Right.
Where we've been putting a lot of effort. And so I hope you all are liking and subscribing as well. So it would be great if you do. And spread the word, please. Let people know
far and wide
what we're doing, because again, this is a labor of love, but it's something.
A lot of labor for the love.
Well, you guys have loved us a bunch, and I mean, really, honest to God, you've made it all worthwhile. I mean, I would do this if I was only talking to one person, per.
Yourself doesn't count.
Well, I'm always talking to myself, so that's hardly a stretch. But you know what I'm saying. It's just it's just something that I love doing anyway. But I really want this to grow and see what it can become. What is that noise?
Oh, that was me. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just playing drummer boy over here.
Drumming on your thighs. Okay, gotcha.
I get such a great bass sound out of them.
Okay, so let's dive into some of these stories.
Hey, let's do a story, yeah.
Let's do some stories, ladies and gentlemen. So, and I'm sorry, but I got to lean way forward because this freaking site made the actual stories into like 8-point font. It's just stupid.
What's this one again? Okay.
Yeah, it's the tail end of this site that we never got to finish a couple weeks ago, I guess. I'm hoping I haven't read these, but I guess we'll learn it. I'll figure it out. I always bookmark things and save them into folders and stuff, and then I come back to them later and go, oh, did I do these or not? So if I have them, sorry. I'm not trying to regurgitate old material, but I don't think I did these. So this is called It's a Sign, and these articles are coming, or these stories are coming from bustle.com, and they're creepy camping stories from Reddit that'll make you never want to set foot outside. And I don't think I did any of these other ones, so I think I stopped at a certain point. I hope. What the hell did I... Let me just look at this bookmark quick. Take it away, Don. How's the Longbeard reports coming?
Well, I still have a few things I have to do on there. I've been kind of slacking and lacking a little bit, I have to admit. But, as we sat down last Saturday and went through the studio and put all that together, it gave me some really good ideas and some real great ways to put them together. Still worried about time and content, mostly time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make them too long. People lose track and interest in them. So
Jesus, I think I might have read this. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of screening this as I'm listening to you.
Somebody's listening to me. There's a first.
Because that word Adirondack isn't here. And by the way, I can say it now. Thank you, Don.
Adirondack. What was the other word? Do you remember?
No. What?
Antietam.
Oh, Antietam. Yeah, that's right. I don't know though. I think I did read these. Oh crap! Keep talking, Don.
Well, you know what? I got a camping story for you.
Please tell us.
All right, so let me thank Naga here properly. There we go. Thank you, Naga, for posting that into TFR, so we don't have to get in trouble for doing it. And okay, so here we go. Camping Horror is the name of this one. This one says, in August 2002, my dad took me out camping for the first time when I was 11. He chose a smaller camping ground called Waterways along the Rideau River. It was a bit off the beaten path, which my father liked and my mother resented because I didn't have a landline telephone. It makes sense to me.
Sure.
Regardless, we packed up. My father and I were on our way. The campsite itself was nice. It was grassy and sheltered from other campsites with a thick line of fir trees, which made it seem as though no one else was around. That's how it stayed for the rest of the weekend because nobody camped anywhere near our site for one reason or another. That's the way it should be. Mm-hmm. Setting up the tents was done by flashlight due to arriving late. I was scared of the dark, so I ended up being not much help. Nice. It was dark by the time we had finished setting up the tent. It must have been around 9 o'clock. Dad gave me the reins and let me pump up the mattress, but I quickly got tired. Instead, I asked if I could go outside and check on the fire that we set aflame over an hour ago. Before I even heard his approval, I was unzipping the door. I took 2 steps outside, gazed at the fire, and let my sight trail up to the tree line just a little way. That's when I saw it, a hooded figure. Ooh. It was small. It must have been only a meter and a half tall, and about 5 meters away. It was in the tree line, so I'd guess it was 2 meters off the ground, and a hooded figure wore a hooded figure wore a long cloak with wide sleeves that met in the middle of his chest as if they were pressing his knuckles together out in front of him. Ooh. The shadow of the hood showed no facial features beneath it. Its entire body was transparent. I stood in utter shock for a few seconds and neither of us moved. I screamed and nearly tore the tent open, crying for my father to go outside. I never told anybody the full story like this, and I'd like some help identifying just what visited my campsite.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding.
Well, hooded figures in the dark in the woods is not good.
Well, you know, there's so many stories of occult groups, and I do say occult. I don't mean to include Wiccan groups and stuff into that. I usually mean the dark and nefarious groups that are doing all kinds of twisted crap out in the woods. But they're always these, hooded figures and going out into the wilderness and doing God knows what and leaving, sites of sacrifice and all kinds of stuff. So for some reason, those wooded dark places are very attractive to, those groups.
And makes it foreboding for the rest of us.
Well, yeah. And if I saw somebody running through the woods hooded, I would pretty much be sure that it wasn't a wizard. He wasn't on his way to Hogwarts, is all I'm saying.
Well, they catch a train for that.
Yeah, exactly. So I did find some more stories here. So this is coming from npr.org, which is cool. I haven't ever read stories from npr.org, so that's really cool. This is the creepiest ghost and monster stories from around the world. And the first one is called The Night Demon. An evil creature stalks the Tanzanian island of Pembla in the Indian Ocean. It can change shape, a bat sometimes, a human-like form at others. It prefers to come out at night, but some say they have seen it during the day. The Papobawa batwing in Swahili is indiscriminate in its targets, but in a common retelling, the spirit sexually assaults men. Okay. Yikes. Well. And to continue, the Papobawa story is rather new, only dating back a few decades from a time of civil unrest following the assassination of the country's president. The popular thinking goes that after the Papobawa attack, victims must spread the word to others on Pemba, otherwise they will continue to be visited by the Papobawa. Reports of attacks send some locals into panic. A few years ago, a series of nighttime sexual assaults were blamed on the Papobawa. Wow. Some men are staying awake or sleeping in groups outside their homes, the BBC reported in 2007. Others are smearing themselves with pig's oil, believing this repels attacks.
Huh.
A peasant farmer named Miyaka Hamad claims he was attacked by the Papabawa in 1997. I couldn't see it. I could only feel it. But some people in my house could see it. Those who've got spirits in their heads could see it. Well, everybody was terrified. They were outside screaming, "Huyo!" It means the Papabawa is here. I had this pain in my ribs where it crushed me. I don't believe in spirits, so maybe that's why it attacked me. Maybe it will attack anybody who doesn't believe.
Huh.
So I've never heard of the Papabawa before, and apparently neither have most anybody. But
no. Now I'm really terrified because I don't have to believe it.
Yeah.
If you don't believe it, it comes after you.
That's it, Don.
Wow.
You better recognize. That's all I got to
recognize.
say. Better recognize the Papabawa is out there.
I recognize. I bow to its bestialness, and that's as far as it goes.
Yeah, that's just all kinds of weirdness. The next one is called The Girl in the Bathroom. In Japan, the schools contain an infernal secret. If you go into the girls' bathroom on the 3rd floor of the building and walk to the 3rd stall, you might find her. You have to knock 3 times and call her name. A code switch reader named Jessica tweeted at us. When you open the stall door, a little girl in a red skirt will be there. The little girl with the bob haircut is Hanako-san. Hanako-san. She wants friends to play with, maybe. Or perhaps she wants to drag you to hell. It's either one or the other. Either you're going to jump rope or you're going to hell. So,
play with me.
Through the toilet, of all things. It says through the toilet. Depending on which part of Japan you live in, she may have a bloody hand and grab you, or be a lizard that devours you. Jessica said, although I am getting scared just thinking about her right now. Hanako-san has become a fixture of Japanese urban folklore over the last 70 years. The most popular origin story for the tale holds that during World War II, a schoolgirl was using the bathroom when a bomb fell on top of the building. The school collapsed on top of Hanako-san, who has been trapped there ever since. But Hanako isn't the only schoolgirl who haunts Japan's school bathrooms. Kashima Raiko, another young girl, is said to have been cut in half by a train. Now her disfigured spirit inhabits bathrooms, asking children who enter the stalls where her legs are. The legend goes that if Kashima Raiko is not satisfied with their answer, she will rip your legs off.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah, it's really bizarre how, these legends transform around the world. And remember, Don, what was the one from Thailand, the Tagalong?
Yeah, the Tagalong.
Tagalong. We covered that in one of our evidence review videos.
That's right, we did.
And where there's a video purportedly showing one, but the Tagalong was from Thailand, and basically it's a evil spirit that will tag along after some person. It will just target a person and just kind of tag along and haunt them. So it's funny how cultures change the phenomena so much. I find that very interesting. Wouldn't you agree, Don?
I absolutely agree. And so you have these ones here, the bathroom stall babes, and and then also you have the typical Ringu type haunts. The Samara looking long straggly hair.
Right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to just bust out laughing, but Naga posted something about the kappa. It's a Japanese soul sucker that sucks the soul from the butt. So.
It was a way to convince kids to wear clothes. You've got to be joking me. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah, there you go. There's more cultural differences of how the paranormal phenomena manifests depending on where you live. But definitely wear clean underwear.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
I think that's the point. That's the whole point.
That is the whole point, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Wow. No, that's a whole different kind of legend there, Justin. Thanks for sharing that.
Go ahead and just keep that one to yourself.
Well, it's out there now, Don.
It's out there. It's out there for everybody.
We've all been schooled.
Oh, jeez.
This one's called The Woman of Your Worst Dreams.
Nice.
In Brazil, a tall, skinny woman with long yellow fingernails and red eyes creeps along the rooftops and watches families inside their homes. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of mediums that are physical mediums, and you'll hear, if you ever watch the show The Dead Files on on the Travel Channel, I guess is where that's on. But the Amy Allen talks about many different kind of things that she senses. And I don't have any reason to doubt her. I guess she seems to be pretty dead on. Although the show is heavily edited, it sounds like she's picking up some things. But she talks sometimes about these like giant insect-looking creatures that are like hanging around houses sometimes and trying to figure out how to get in, and it's really, really creepy. So things like this, are kind of play along that same line. But it says she watches them as they sit at the table for dinner, and she watches them while they eat. La pisadiera. I don't know what la pisadiera means. D-E-I-R-A. Pisa and then D-E-I-R-A. After the meal, when someone goes to sleep on full stomach, la pisadiera sneaks into their bedroom. Oh. Then she sits on their chest so they cannot move. The la pisadiera that has attacked them watches them as they begin to panic. The victim's eyes partly open, but they neither fully sleep nor fully awake, helpless and trapped in a body that won't move. Oh, yeah, much like the old hag phenomena. Or sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is a well-studied disorder. The worst thing is when you try to fight or call for help. A Redditor said in a conversation about what the experiences were like. Your voice doesn't work and your body will not respond. You just feel helpless. And common to those who suffer from it across many cultures, there is one unsettling common experience. A sense that a malevolent force is hovering over them in their immobile state. The earliest one I can remember is with my mother in the room, and she's sitting on my bed. Her face morphs into a demon-like thing. A Redditor shared on a thread on sleep paralysis, or a large dark figure, kind of a human silhouette, emerging from the foot of my bed and staring down at me. Wow. Could her mom, quote, in quotes, or the silhouette be a pisadiera? They went on, ugh, I need to stop trying to remember these things. I'm getting chills. Yeah, I had suffered from sleep paralysis for quite a while myself, and it's horrible. It is absolutely horrible. And so I feel that, but I know that feeling of like being stuck and you can't do anything. You can't even you're aware that there's a room around you. You're aware, if you happen to be sleeping with someone, you're aware they're there, but you have no way to reach out and just, have them help you. It's just the worst feeling ever. It's just like being stuck. So I can totally empathize with that. The next one is the Weeping Woman. Her name was Maria. She lived in Mexico. She had long dark hair and a covetous heart. The man she loved would not have her, so she took her children in a fit of rage, took them down to the river and drowned them. Oh, horrible. One by one. When the man she loved spurned her again, she realized what she'd done. She took herself to the water and threw herself in, to subject herself to the same fate as her children. But heaven would not have Maria, and she was condemned to wander the world in perpetual grief. She is La Lorna. That's two L's. L-L-O-R-O-N-A, the Wailing Woman. The people who have seen her said they can her walking. Or I guess they meant can see her walking, and I was going to read it correctly, even though it's not written correctly. Soaking wet, wearing all white, and she can be heard crying out for her little ones that she killed. Ay, mis hijos, she weeps, oh my children. Some say that she snatches other young children as she walks, mistaking them for her own young children she knew. Oh, that's horrible. Children along the Mexican border grew up with her story, which traces itself to stories about several different female spirits of the Aztec Empire. My earliest memory of her is being in elementary school and being in the girls' bathroom, said Terry Martinez, who grew up in Texas in the Rio Grande Valley. She and other young children would try to summon La Llorona in a bathroom mirror. The lights had to be out, Martinez says. The door had to be closed. They'd splash water on the mirror and say her name 3 times. No, I'm not going to say it 3 times because I don't want anybody coming to suck me away. It's just it was just seeing who could stand being in the dark room and seeing how long we could stand there watching for her to come out of the sink. Martinez says, it usually ended up with a bunch of little girls screaming and running out of the bathroom.
Bet it did. Yeah, just like the Bloody Mary. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's very, very profound as well, Don. That again, cultural differences, right. But to to do the same thing,
very similar, yeah.
And I don't know how these things become children's games, but there's certainly nothing childish about trying to summon a spirit.
No, not at all.
There is nothing good that's going to come from that.
Hey, Lewis is in the YouTube chat with us again.
Oh, hey, Lewis.
Nice
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Now, this one looks like one I've read before. No, I don't know. You got another one done?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So this one's called Camping. This is from Glasgow, Scotland, July 2004. 5 16-year-olds were out camping in the woods, and I was the youngest. Only had 2 bottles of cider. I was the youngest and only had 2 bottles of cider? Okay. Around 2 a.m., being rowdy with the residential area, the police came. We ran off in different directions, and I was left with one other friend. I suggested we try and find the rest of our party at the campsite. We arrived at the camp, and there was no one there. I suggested that I stay at the tents whilst my friend headed out to find our friends. He agreed, but he said he'd only be a max of 30 minutes to avoid leaving me here too long. I tried to get some sleep. Before dozing off, I hear a very clear, softly spoken voice which said, "Go home." I looked around, but there was no one around. After searching the area with a force, I shrugged this off as a possible dream and tried to go back to sleep. A couple of minutes passed and I heard it again. This time it was a voice shouting very loud in my ear, "Go home. Go home now." I also felt an overpowering presence on top of me, pinning my shoulders to the ground. I couldn't see anyone. After around 5 times and repeating itself, I shouted, "Okay, okay, I'll go." I immediately stopped. I grabbed my things and left the site in a hurry, and I went home. My friend who had left did catch up with my friends, and they headed back to the tents around 15 minutes later. They arrived to find the tents on fire. They were terrified, thinking that I was still in the tents. They managed to put it out, finding burnt money and etc. None of us smoked or had any equipments to light a fire.
Wow. Very cool. I think actually I gotta take a quick break here, and we will certainly continue on the other side of this, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm just gonna put Feline on a loop here, and we will be right back. So
stay there.
Don't go away.
I'll be in the chat room with you.
I promise we'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, so hang in there. Unless the stream dies, and it's not my fault. All right, just a sec.
Gravity is all that I know. She's all
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here, and that was a terrible fade. I'm sorry about that. But, you know, what do you do? It's working. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Look at that, Don.
Oh, boy. There it goes.
Are we freezing?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
No.
We were doing.
Freezing. What the hell? Freezing up. Arg. What the hell? I don't know. It's kind of stuck there. Let me try to transition back again. Maybe it's the webcam. I don't know. I think something funky's been going on. Let's see if this is working. Transition. Is it going to switch back? Is it just the frame froze, or is it the webcam froze, or what? I don't know. No, it's working. It seems to be working.
Well, Justin says he can hear us out there in Neverland. So. Hey, just hang out for a minute. We're just going to do the regular portal on Friday and Saturday night thing for a minute.
Yeah, just look at this beautiful picture as we continue to entertain you.
I think it was Lewis. He said that he really likes it, by the way.
What?
The background.
Oh, cool. This one? Yeah.
Yep, that one.
That is cool, but I mean, the webcam isn't popping up like it should. So I'm not sure what the hell's going on. Where we are. There we are.
There you go.
Looks like we're back and maybe live. So we'll wait for that to catch up. Thanks for sticking around, guys. I just had to use the facilities quickly. So we are back.
There we are. Hey,
ladies and gentlemen. So glad you're joining us, and I hope you're enjoying this Wednesday night special stream of the Paranormal Portal as we cover all kinds of spookiness from around the globe. And I hope you're all ready for the Halloween season. I know I am, I think. Actually, I haven't even gotten a pumpkin yet or anything done. Have you?
As a matter of fact, I have stuff. I already roasted down a pumpkin for pumpkin soup and getting ready to make some custard.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So Don's a keeper, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I got to say.
Yep. I'm going to ffigure out a way to barbecue a pumpkin here shortly.
Yeah, if you can slap some of that dry rub on it, brother, I'll chew it up.
Oh, yeah. It's good stuff.
It was good stuff. It was very good stuff.
Well, thank you.
So this one is a different page. I don't think I've read these, but, it's only one story. What the hell? I don't get it. It's 12 terrifying stories, ghost stories from around the world, but it's like got 12 number. How the hell does it go from
clickbait?
Well, right. It's just strange, right? Oh, I see. It's a bunch of tiles again. It's this stupid thing.
That kind.
This kind of thing. So let's read this one. This is called The Screaming Trees at a Mental Asylum, and these are coming from whatculture.com. Offbeat, and that's 12 terrifying ghost stories from around the world. And we're starting off at number 12, ladies and gentlemen, so hang on, buckle in, because it's about to get spooky up in here. That's his, let's see. All right.
Spooky.
Oh, it looks like a spooky building, doesn't it?
That looks like an asylum.
It does, yeah. It looks like an abandoned asylum.
Which
I don't know
the
if they're
best ones.
Yeah, I know. I think about asylums, and I just think, God, they're just so if there are spirits left there, and at the very least, there's got to be a whole ton of residual energy that's stuck in those places. And so a lot of the manifestations, I'm sure, are residual, but perhaps there's intelligent stuff going on. Are we doing it again?
Yeah.
But is the stream dying, or is it just my webcam?
No, it's just the webcam.
That's weird.
Whatever's blocking up the webcam.
All right, I'm going to switch scenes again. Wow. I don't get it. I don't understand. But it seems to still be working.
No, because your light's off.
Well, no, I'm on this scene now,
gotcha.
So we should see that transition up on YouTube here shortly. There it goes. See?
Okay, there it is.
There it is. And let's switch back again. I have no idea what the hell's going on. It's like there is like a new freaking problem every time we try to do this, right? Because the first time we did it, it was like 5 minutes crash, 4 minutes crash, 3 minutes. We had just these little fractions of shows all down the playlist, and I just had to go through and delete them just because it was so ridiculously stupid. But now I've never had this problem before, so it's like there's a new problem every time we try to do this, Don.
Well, at least we're still live.
Now I am hearing from the missus that she's catching shadow people walking around here in the house, so apparently we may not be alone. Yeah. They
might be up there futching with your cam there, huh?
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, they of course, electrical phenomenon is real common in situations where there's a presence. But I don't feel like it's a bad thing. I don't feel like, oh, this is so spooky and weird. Yeah, see, there the camera didn't actually come on, even though the light did. Must be the NSA's checking it out.
Yeah,
the NSA's
the
checking
MIBs are on our butt again.
MIBs, yeah. Try it again. There we are. Okay. All right. I don't know. What do you do?
The show must go on.
Right. The show is always going to go on. And, if it freezes like that, Don, just let me know and I'll switch it back and forth a few times again and make sure we get back to being live and in person.
Hey, yeah, it's actually moving on my screen. So, hey, cool.
Yeah.
So, Screaming Trees at the Asylum, eh?
Don is becoming the producer. Okay, so this is a place originally named Illinois Asylum for the Incurable Insane. Isn't going to be the happiest place on earth, and for copyright reasons could never name itself as such either. But throw a ghost into the mix on top of that, and you've got a recipe for true horror. Dr. George Zeller, the first director of what is now called the Peoria State Hospital, was one of the first to document the story of the spirit that came to be known as Old Book. The hospital had existed in a different form before Zeller reopened it in 1902 with a new and more enlightening view on how mental health issues should be treated. In fact, the original building had never been used, constructed to look more like a castle's battlements than a place for progressive treatments. The eeriness truly began during Zeller's time there, though, as recounted in his book Befriending the Bereft, it was decided early on that anybody who died whilst working or attending the hospital would be shipped off to relatives or, if they were unclaimed, buried on the asylum's grounds. It was the latter fate that befell Manuel, a bookbinder, a patient who worked with the burial crew until his death. Zeller and hundreds of other patients and employees saw Old Book's figure at his funeral, weeping over by the old elm in the potter's field. Since then, Old Book, a nickname, but bookbinder wasn't even his real name, he had suffered a breakdown whilst working at a printing press and nobody knew his actual identity, was seen at dozens of funerals on the ground, crying by the old elm tree. Even today, visitors claim to hear his otherworldly sobs coming from the tree, as if an old abandoned mental hospital wasn't creepy enough on its own.
No doubt. Well, you got, people pay professional grievers. Why not have a...
They do?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, you got crisis actors, professional grievers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But when you can actually have one that's an apparition,
Yeah, that's even better. Yeah.
That'll
if you can
make
actually
it even better.
have a spirit show up and cry for you, that's pretty powerful.
Wow.
I don't know.
And he's cheap too. He works for free.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be hard to pay him. All right, so the next one is called The Stockholm Ghost Train. Stockholm's metro network is one of the best in Europe, traveling across every corner of the Swedish capital, both under and overground. The Silver Pylon, or Silver Arrow, was an old model of metro train, so named because of its shiny aluminum shell. Between its introduction in the 60s and discontinuation in 1996, it was usually used as a backup train if others broke down. The interiors were more utilitarian than the usual cars, with signs of partly removed graffiti contributing to the reputation of the Silver Pylon as different. Adding to that reputation, or perhaps bolstered by it, are the numerous ghost stories and urban legends that have sprung up about the Silver Pylon trains. Since it was used only when the metro cars had broken down and needed replacing, the average Stockholm dweller rarely saw a Silver Arrow in action, adding further to the mystique surrounding them. Seeing them at night would be an especially spooky event, with the unfamiliar car glowing as its metal shell reflected the street lamps, giving it an all-around ghostly look. Stories about the Silver Pylon usually connected to the abandoned Kremlin metro station, I'm just guessing is how you pronounce that, on line 11. The origin of the delightful saying, "Only the dead get off at Kremlinge." That's creepy.
Okay.
People claim that the train picks up its spirit passengers there and speeds through the city after midnight, only sometimes stopping to pick up passengers. They either disappear forever or later get off weeks, months, or even years after they embarked. Oh, that's horrible. Still sounds better than the tube.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow. Well, that's a hell of a legend, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Wow. How about you, Don? Did you have more that you wanted to bring to the table?
Sure, I got another.
Well, please.
Yeah, here we go.
Let me catch up with the chat a little bit here.
Sure, absolutely. This one's a long one, so go ahead and chat away.
I'll try.
We got lots of people in there. It's so nice. This one is called The Unpredictable Camping. I don't know how I got stuck with camping stories today, but that's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. Let's see here.
How the hell do I close? Oh, here we go. There we go. Okay, go ahead.
Technical difficulty with the chat.
That's going to be the name of my biography, I'm sure.
Technical difficulties?
Yeah.
Yeah. Caused by Dawn, but is the byline. My family, my mom and dad and 2 aunts and 2 uncles and my cousins and me, all together, we're about 25 people. We went camping in a bungalow near the seaside. Our bungalow was not so near the seaside as it was about 10 minutes walk to the beach. When we reached there, we noticed that the place was quite remote, but we discarded it away, and before going inside, we did a small prayer to push away bad spirits. As soon as the prayer was over, my cousin and I rushed inside to conquer the best room. All the rooms were upstairs. There were 4 in all, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, facing each other in a pair of rooms that connected via the bathroom. To our dismay, one of our aunts called us downstairs to help unpack foods, so my cousins and I kept our bags in the first room. While we were doing so, one of my cousins, who's now 25, told us that he was not supposed to come as his father is very ill at home. We consoled him and told him not to feel guilty about it and headed downstairs. After unpacking the food and all, we were hungry and tired. We went into the living rooms, my cousins and I. Me and my cousins, okay. My aunts were in the kitchen taking out food for us, and my dad and uncles were in the front garden enjoying beers in the sun. After having lunch at about 2 p.m., we decided to watch a scary movie which was recently released. So we kids were in the living room watching the film. My mom and aunts were in the other room chatting. After 2 hours, the movie was over, and my cousins put on another movie, but this one was a comedy. My mom and aunts came down looking a bit tense. My mom told me then told me to go and have my bath as it was hot. But I said I will watch the movie first. So at about 5:30 p.m. I went upstairs to have my bath, and I asked my cousins to accompany me. We arrived at the top floor. Something attracted me to the last room on the left. The door was closed. I had to slide it to open it, but it was really hard to open. After a few attempts to open it, I stopped to catch my breath, and as I did so, the door slid open and a strong breeze passed beside me. When I peeped into the room to see if there were any windows open, there were none. I looked at my cousin, who was behind me, and looked amazed. I told her to stay in the room while I take my bath. 15 minutes later, just before stepping out of the bathroom, I heard someone laughing in the room where my cousin was supposed to be. I came into the room and no one was there. At that moment, I stopped breathing and looked right in front of me. I shook myself up and went downstairs fast. To my surprise, everyone was there. I looked at my cousins. They looked at me weirdly. Then one of my cousins approached me and told me that she was bored waiting for me, so she came down. I didn't told anyone of what happened. That night, when all of us went upstairs to sleep, all the women decided to sleep in the room where I took my bath and all the boys in the opposite room. So that meant 2 rooms were free. My aunt and my little cousin were in one of those rooms to explore. In that particular room, there was an antique mirror, and as soon as my aunt looked into it, she fell in love with it, so she decided she and my little cousin would sleep in that particular room. We were about to sleep when the boys burst out in our room to have fun. We were all in sheer delight when my aunt, who was in the other room, told us that my cousin got locked up in the room alone. This is kind of disjointed. We couldn't go into the room as the handle was broken from the inside, and my 5-year-old cousin won't know how to open a door like this. So one of my uncles tried to go in the room via the bathroom, but the bathroom was also locked. So my cousin decided to jump through the balcony to go into the room. When all this was going on, my cousin inside was crying loudly, and he was mumbling something over and over that we couldn't understand. After about half an hour, the room was successfully unlocked, but my cousin didn't stop crying. He kept crying for 2 hours. When he finally calmed down and my aunt asked him why he was crying like that, he said, Mamu, which meant maternal uncle. Mamu. What happened then was like a shock. Just as my cousin said Mamu, the phone rang, and it was one of my cousin's mom calling to say that his dad was dead, the one who was sick. We just couldn't believe it. How come my little cousin knew that my uncle was dying? It's still a mystery to me. So is some of this story.
Oh my goodness. So was that the end of it, or?
Yeah, that was the end of that one.
Okay, good.
Because I haven't figured out what he saw in the room. And then, what he saw originally in the room when he went to take his bath. Well, we'll leave that alone. But apparently the baby cousin saw the maternal uncle. The ghost of the maternal uncle. Wow.
Oh man, that wasn't a story. That was a miniseries.
That was painful.
It was painful for all of us, I'm sure. Because as you were running out of logic circles there, it was like these dead pauses. Like,
it's like,
what the hell am I reading? and we're waiting. Like, and then.
I know. There's like a piece right in the middle that's like something was supposed to happen, but he just kind of skipped over it.
Yeah, well, everybody's not an author, and
that's true.
The internet is wide open.
It is true.
It can't all be the Paranormal Portal, but it can be on the Paranormal Portal. It's just that we may not know what the hell we're reading, and it just turns into words and syllables at some point, and you just spit them out because you just got to finish it. Like, what
the hell does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of times that I just read on autopilot because it's like, I don't know what the hell's going on. What the hell is going on? But you just finish it because, you can't just go, well, you can't stop and start thinking out loud. It's like, I have, I guess, on time to time. But
we won't do it.
What
the hell does that mean?
Well, you remember last show? It was like I started reading that UFO story, and it was just... it was like about 3 or 4 paragraphs, and I made it through the first one. I was like, okay, I'm done. That is just, I can't go there.
It's painful to read.
Yeah, it was. It was just, it's not that I want to limit what reality can be. I really don't, and I respect people have a wide cornucopia of beliefs and understandings of what reality means. But at some point, if you're presenting information on a show that talks about, a whole variety of subjects, you can't go all the way down the rabbit hole on them. It's just too much. It's kind of like, in the disclosure. And my biggest argument with the disclosure movement, right, and especially the press club hearings that happened in Washington, D.C., was like, you had all these great witnesses up there and, telling their whole stories, amazing stories, and very credible witnesses talking about, these encounters with craft and potentially beings from, other places. And it was just compelling as hell until Paul Hellyer gets up there. And not only, so these people are up there absorbing this information, and then he gets up there and he's like, well, there's about up to 12 to 20, species that are visiting the Earth and are actively involved in the Earth. And it's like, okay, now it just went right down the rabbit hole.
Right.
So you take these people, you're presenting information that have maybe no belief, maybe an interest, maybe don't want to believe or whatever. But you give them these stories from very credible witnesses that they're experiencing it, and they're involved, they're paying attention, they're intrigued. But then you put a guy like Paul Hellyer in there, and I love Paul Hellyer, don't get me wrong, but that wasn't, I don't think, the forum for that level of information. I think it just went to a whole different level at that point. And then it just got to be, okay, is this the part where we put on the tinfoil hat?
Right.
It just was too much. And so when I read a story like that, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but what I'm saying is that I'm not going to present things that are that far down the rabbit hole, that may be well beyond what people can even cognitively process, because I couldn't even cognitively process it. And I'm interested in all of it. Does that make any sense, Don?
It does. It absolutely does. Yeah.
Okay. Well, because I don't want to dictate, what our possibilities, and try to say that I got this all figured out. But at the same time, like I said on the show, I think I have a responsibility to at least present information in a manner that's credible and that people can, absorb or whatever. But then again, I do, stories on everything, and I'm sure there's plenty of subject matter that I've covered on the show that people have been like, oh, what's on TV?
Quick, give me the remote. Turn that crap off.
But I think it's good to have an open mind, but at some point you have to mitigate the amount of openness that people have to entertain.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on the subject. But what do I do? So I've just been chatting with people, and Molly, it's good to see you. I appreciate you being in here, and tell Charlie hello, because Charlie had won that T-shirt on the 100th episode giveaway, and she was just explaining that in the chat room on YouTube, and it's really cool that she's in here as well. So we are thrilled that you're here and part of the family. And to Lewis and Justin, and I don't know, is Marshall still in here?
He hasn't. He's been quiet.
He might be meditating in the background.
Yeah.
Marshall, wake up. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Marshall.
He's a busy guy. He's a busy guy.
He is.
But anyway, I got another story here I'd like to read.
Nice.
And this one's kind of cool. This one's kind of in your Longbeard realm. So it's the Maori villagers risen from the dead. And Don, I'm sure you're familiar with this, but the Maori, I believe, are the ones that were on Easter Island, right?
Right, that's correct.
Yep. So let's read what this one is. Mount Tarawera, that's what it looks like, right, Don?
That's the Tarawear.
W-E-R-A. Tarawera.
That's for my...
is responsible for one of New Zealand's largest volcanic eruptions in history, which killed around 120 people back in 1886. Hundreds die in a natural disaster during which the sky looked to be burning. Black smoke filled the air, and survivors were naturally panicked and fearing for their own lives. Yeah, very naturally. Why, those are the perfect conditions for a ghost story to take root. And so it did, but not without a few more details to build it up a little. One of the biggest tragedies of the eruption were the dozens of Maori villages that were completely destroyed or buried, decimating the people's local community. All of this devastation could have been predicted, however, by a ghostly vision that was sighted 11 days before Mount Tarawera erupted. An event that was so loud and so bright that some thought it to be an attack by Russian warships. A boat full of tourists returning from the pink and white terraces of natural wonder, which was later wiped off the map by the volcano, saw what appeared to be a war canoe approaching their boat, only to discover in the mist half a mile from them on board was a Maori clergyman who recognized it as a burial waka, which dead chiefs were tied to in an upright position and sent into the water on. Some had posted that the pre-eruption fissures could have freed the canoe from its resting place, but either way, seeing a decomposed guy on a boat floating at you through the mist sounds absolutely terrifying. I agree. I would agree. That's something I don't want to witness ever.
Hey, just so you know, Marshall is here, but he's raiding, so he's multitasking.
He's a multitasker.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm too genetically challenged to do more than one thing at a time. But I'm glad you have that skill set. That's awesome.
Stacy's here.
Well, it's about time.
Stacy,
welcome. It's about time you showed up. I'm sorry you'll have to get the notes from the others that were already here.
There will be a test, maybe on next Saturday. Who knows?
Absolutely. You never know when we're going to drop the quiz.
Yeah.
So you get a.
What was the story that Don read that made no sense?
Even I couldn't answer that.
I can't answer, and I read it. I just can't do it.
Please tell us, because we're lost. We're confused.
Sure. Let me back up here. One click back. It was called. Yeah, this is it. An Unpredictable Camping. So there you go. There will be a quiz now because Brent said so. Yeah. Well, Stacy, you're going to have to do a quiz.
Just Stacy will have to take it because she's
exactly.
late. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, so is Pixie. She just walked in.
Pixie,
so
wow.
Pixie has to take the quiz now. Now Pixie actually has to get the notes from Stacy.
Yeah, Pixie and Stacy, you're allowed to be study buddies.
It is a closed book test.
Closed book, but you can be study buddies. All right, so I'm going to read this next one, which is called The Samurai Who Loved a Ghost.
Oh.
Nice. Besides being the place where the majority of your consumer electronics originate, Japan's biggest export is of absolutely pant-wettingly terrifying ghost stories. The likes of The Ring and The Grudge films, remade to a lesser effect in English, follow the tradition of kaidan, literally talk strange, mysterious, rare, or bewitching apparitions, which date back to the Edo period. Do you know what the Edo period is, Don? Don?
Yes.
Okay, I don't.
It was before, I believe, Edo was the... I'll explain it later.
And they were all equally as bizarre, disturbing, gross as the hauntings at Sadako and Kayako. One such story is Botan. I guess these blocks are A's. I don't know what the hell's going on with this site, but it's doing a font replacement where it should be, maybe it's one of those emphasized A's with all the weird stuff around it.
Special characters.
Special characters, yeah. So I think it's the story of Botan Dara, I'm assuming they're A's, which translates roughly to Peony Lantern, one of the famous kaidan. It began as a moralistic Buddhist parable about a karma that came from China, but it was retrofitted into being more straight-up scary by an enterprising author, Asai Rayai, and spread in popularity thanks to his transition and later kabuki adaptations. Oh, sorry, I gotta wipe my eye. And of course, it was a hit. After all, it featured, oh dear God, it featured necrophilia, sort of anyway. The basic story of Botan Dara is of a beautiful woman and a young girl holding a lantern, at the house of a widowed samurai? I don't know. It just says the house of a widowed samurai. The samurai is instantly smitten with the woman, and from that night on, both her and the girl visit the house during dusk and disappear before dawn. A suspicious elderly neighbor peeks into the house one night and sees the samurai in bed with a skeleton. Ooh. Oh. That's weird. Okay. Unable to resist her charms, even when he finds out what's happening, the samurai is led by the woman into the local graveyard where his body is found buried alive, again spooning the skeleton. Creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Well, she's no skin and all bones.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. True Detective Comes to Windsor is the next one. This one, we admit, it was partially chosen for the chilling illustration that accompanies it. It's like the sort of thing you'd expect of the dark, murderous Yellow King from the True Detective, albeit transplanted from the deep south to Berkshire. Herne the Hunter. No, that's actually considered. Okay, Herne the Hunter is supposed to be like a demigod or a god in the Celtic lore. Is said to haunt the county's Windsor Forest and Great Park, appearing in countless folktales and even scoring a cameo appearance in Shakespeare's The Merry Wives of Windsor. His origin is said to lay further back than that, though, rooted in weird pagan stuff. I happen to like pagan stuff. I find it very interesting. Little was written down and preserved about Herne before Willie got there, describing him as a spirit and sometime a beggar in Windsor Forest who is seen to walk around an oak with a great ragged horns, which, to be honest, would be enough for us to go on. A ragged spectral being with terrifying face and great big antlers, I'd say certainly puts us off our Center Parks holiday, that's for sure. I love it when these guys try to be witty. Samuel Ireland provided more background on to this specter decades later, posting that in life he was a man of some social standing who, for some transgression, saw that he may fall into disgrace and choose instead to hang himself in the very woods he overlooked. So he is damned to protect them for the rest of eternity, with sightings dating as recently as the 1920s, suggesting he rides with demon hounds, a horned owl, and other creatures of the forest. I mean, that's a great. I thought for sure he was supposed to be a demigod of some kind, though.
Depends on who's telling the story, I should suppose.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Murdered wife haunts the library.
Nice.
The life of Sophia Eberlein was a short, tragic one. Having emigrated from Russia to the United States as a young woman, she found herself married to Hugo Eberlein, a well-known businessman with whom she bore two daughters, Lillian and Alice. Following Hugo's death in 1928, she remarried, taking up with a man named Jacob Bentz in her home of Harvey, North Dakota. It is unknown if this second marriage was particularly tumultuous, but what is known is that Benz bludgeoned his wife to death not long after. Wow. Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Despite cleaning up the crime scene and trying to make it look like Sophia had died in a car accident, Benz was caught out by a visit by Lillian, who noticed the blood splatters in her deceased mother's bedroom. Benz admitted to the crime and was sentenced to life in prison, where he himself died in 1944. It's a sad story, and one which has all the hallmarks of a later haunting. A violent, horrible death at the hands of a loved one, the victim burdened with unfinished business, which is perhaps why, when the author William Jackson began working in a library built on the land of the old Eberlein family home, he found himself the victim of cold chills, moving furniture, and glimpsed sight of the manifestation of the murdered Sophia. According to Jackson, the librarian's office was built in the exact spot where Sophia's bedroom was, the part of the house she was killed in, and apparently her final resting place. Spookier than the lady at the start of Ghostbusters, that definitely less funny. Yeah, they do a screenshot of the Ghostbusters scene. The original Ghostbusters,
right.
Not the remake. The original classic Ghostbusters. So, very cool. The White Woman of Belchin Tunnel. So we're kind of taking a journey all over the globe here, or plate if you happen to subscribe to Flat Earth. But and I'm not making fun of it. I honestly am not. I think it's interesting. It's all interesting, and I don't pretend to know. I've never been up in space, so I just kind of leave those things to the experts.
In your balloonolite or a Saddaloon.
A Saddaloon. Okay, I'm gonna get in trouble here. I love all of the shows on TFR, so I don't want to start any problems. I think they're all very interesting, and the caliber of hosts we have on the TFR Live is amazing. So I don't ever want to disparage any of them, because they all give of themselves completely to something they truly love. So
I didn't say anything about that.
That's true. So underground tunnels for cars are terrifying enough on their own, And we don't mean just because of the one that Uncle video, UNKLE, I don't know what that means. There's the darkness, the claustrophobic feeling of being below ground, and the inhuman howl that traffic makes as it passes through. Engine noise echoing off the stark concrete walls. Yeesh. It says yeesh. And at nighttime, when the traffic is at a minimum, it just gets worse, because if anything bad happens, you've got no escape but to go forwards or turn around. And you could still be in the tunnel for what feels like an eternity, which means they're not quite as as unusual a setting for a contemporary ghost story as you might think. One such modern myth sprang up in regards to the Belchen Tunnel in Switzerland, which connects Basel to Chiasso, I hope I'm pronouncing those right, in the form of the White Woman, or Weisse Frau. I don't know how to say Weisse. I don't speak German, so. Of the Bolchen Tunnel. Bolchen is a local dialect for Belchen. Beginnings in 1981, stories of an old white-clothed woman began circulating who appears out of nowhere and sometimes tries to catch a ride off of drivers. After being picked up, the local tabloids Basel police received dozens of phone calls of people seeing the white woman. In 1983, two jurists claimed to have picked up a pale middle-aged woman who, when asked if she was okay, replied, "No, unfortunately not. I am not well at all. Something really awful is going to happen, something very dreadful." When the pair looked back to the back seat where the hitchhiker had sat, they found she had disappeared. Probably the second most creepy thing a hitchhiker could do, but creepy nonetheless.
Okay. We froze up again. The video's froze up. The audio's still there, but the
audio's still there. Good. Okay. Well, let me.
That's why I didn't stop you in the middle of the story.
I appreciate that. As much as I love to continue talking in a frozen face. Was it a stupid face I had on? No, I guess it's not bad.
Is that a subjective thing? Rhetorical question.
Yeah. Well done. Sorry you can't make it anymore. No. Let's see if it comes up. Nope. Let's try it again. Boom. And boom. There we are. It usually takes two. I don't know what the hell. I know that application wanted to update, and I was just in such a hurry. I'm like, I'll do it later.
Oh. Yeah. Did you get that update finished, or
no? It said it wanted to download it, and I was like, oh, we can wait till later. Well, yeah, this is what later got me, folks. Right there. It's got me skipping around. The next one's going to be called "Polish Nobleman Makes a Faustian Pact." That doesn't sound good. A man loyal to his king and country, a military commander who dictated his civilian life to investigating and developing his home country, Stanislaw. Now, see, that's got to be an L. The A's are there. Stanislaw Wawrzycki? I don't know. Was well regarded during his lifetime. In 1632, he helped fortify his village to see off the attacks of the Swedish army, and his tactics were adopted by other battlements across Poland. He stayed loyal to his country when other business magnates and noblemen such as he were defecting to their enemies. For this, Stanislaw was rewarded with the military powers and the friendship of the royal family. Excuse me. After his death, however, rumors spread of a different side to Worcestershire. No, I'm just kidding. It's Warzzycki. Wawrzycki? I guess we'll go with Wawrzycki. Less a war hero. Now the camera blinked. I don't know what the hell's going on. No, it's not frozen yet. Keep watching the stream, Don.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw the light flicker on and off, and not. Oh, yeah, it froze. I caught it. I see that the light does that. Now I got to finish reading this after I do this. I should just keep going, shouldn't I? And be professional about it.
Well.
I should, I'm saying. I didn't say I would. I said I should be professional about it. Okay. He stayed loyal to his country when other business magnates and noblemen such as he were defecting to the enemies. For this, Stanislaw was rewarded with military powers and the friendship of the royal family. After his death, however, rumors spread of a different side to Wawrzycki. Less a war hero, a more sadistic torturer type, treating peasants poorly and straight up murdering a dude he suspected his wife of having an affair with, either through poisoning, public flagellation, or even exploding a whole castle with the philanderer inside, in more colorful interpretations. Other legends suggest the family, the famously wealthy Stanislaw, kept vast caves full of his treasures, and even more outrageously that all of his fame and good fortune was a result of a deal with the devil. Having sold his soul to Satan, Stanislaw was therefore damned either to hell or to walk the earth for the rest of his days, which is where the ghost story part of this particular legend comes into play at last. The bloodthirsty spirit of Warsiki is supposedly roams the armaments of the are you serious? Ogdrazinik and Olsztyn castles. Oh my God. How do people put those weird letters together and expect a word to come out? I wish I was more worldly. Castles, rattling chains, leading black dogs, and generally being a translucent, insane spectral murderer you wouldn't want to meet when he was alive, let alone now that he's and they do ghost.
Ghost?
Yeah, I know. It's like, huh? You know, like Zoic Scoob. You know? Yeah. There you have it. Next page. Oh, the oil-covered Malaysian monster.
Oh.
That are still at large. That's weird. The orang minyak. Orang is like people in Indonesia and Malaysian language. So I don't know what minyak means, but are a weird one. And considering we've already done Botan Dara, that's saying a lot. Literally meaning oily man in Malay. Oh, okay, so I guess minyak is oily. Okay. This legend was passed down through generations and is popularized in the 1956 film Sumpa Orang Minyak, The Curse of the Oily Man. In it, the Orang Minyak was a mortal man cursed to walk the earth until he could win back his lost love, and was helped along the way by the devil. But only if the Orang Minyak worshipped him and raped, 21 virgins within a week. I should probably screen these. Those are the sort of deals the devil makes, we guess, which is creepy enough, but in the 60s, people starting to spread stories of these violent spirits stalking the area around several Malaysian towns, causing a mass panic which has led to unmarried women, typically in student dormitories, borrowing men's clothes to give the impression to the Orang Minyak that they weren't virgins. A bit like Cherry Falls, only terrifying and at least semi-real. I don't know what Cherry Falls means, so I have no idea what that means. But because sightings of the Orang Minyak didn't stop then, and in fact have become even more common in the 21st century, in 2005, multiple cases were reported of sexual predators covered in oil roaming around armed with knives. In 2012, residents of the village in Gombak claimed to have been plagued by one such spirit. So the creature may have some basis in reality, which, even if he's not actually a ghost, is still bone-chilling.
That's just people being...
That's just weirdness, yeah. Absolutely. Hey, this one's called The Thai Ghost Spills Her Guts. That's just weird. I don't know. I'm kind of getting done with these stories from around the world. Where are you at, Don?
You know what? We can go back to a camping story if you like.
Yeah, let's do that,
Something
please.
a little more...
Something a little more happy.
Yeah, okay. So camping on the North Shore.
Oh, that's probably in Minnesota.
Let's see here. I'm living Tuesday. Okay, so my story happened a while camping on the North Shore of Lake Superior with my Girl Scout troop last year.
Northern Minnesota.
Wisconsin.
Or Northern Minnesota or Wisconsin. One of those two. Yep.
Somewhere in cheese country. Cheese and beer.
Been there a bunch of times.
Beer cheese country.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. Beer. You got stuck on beer and cheese.
I did. The camp we were staying at wasn't a bad camp. It was actually very nice. I don't remember the name of it, though. There were 3 campgrounds in the camp, and one of the farthest being the largest. Since we had a big troop, that was the one we were staying at. At dinner, the troop was split into 2 groups, I being the leader of one. So it was my job to get the fire going. I sent 2 girls out to get firewood while I cleaned up the fireplace and took the match and looked for the matches. When I looked over to see if the girls had gotten any firewood, I saw 4 hikers walking towards the camp, then vanish. Knowing that it was probably just my imagination, I shook it off. It was getting dark and one of the girls had to go to the bathroom, so my friend and I went with her. It was a porta potty thing. Was where you drove into the camp. Oh, the porta potty thing was where you drove into the camp, so we had to walk about 5 minutes to get there. She went in and we waited outside for her to get done. 10 minutes later, she still was in there, and we just heard something making noises in the woods, so we were about to tell her to hurry up when the bathroom door burst open and her face was pale white. We asked her what was going wrong, and she said that there was a green light in the bottom of the toilet. We told her this wasn't the time to be messing around, but she looked so scared that we decided to take a look. Sure enough, there was a strange green light in the bottom of the toilet. We ran back to the camp and explained what had happened, but hardly anyone believed us. But little did we know that they soon would believe what we saw. Just when we were getting ready for bed, a girl outside of our tent said, "Oh my God, come quick." We went out and looked at her to see what was going on, and everyone was pointing at something in a tree. We looked up, and that's what I saw startled me. In that tree was the strangest thing I ever saw. A cloaked figure about 2.5 feet tall was sitting in the tree. We all ran elsewhere, not caring where we went, just away from what our eyes had saw. We came back 20 minutes later and went to bed. I'll never forget that trip. Wow.
Oh, we're frozen again. We're frozen again.
We're froze again, folks.
Well, at least we're not disconnecting. At least we're not crashing.
Yeah, we're not crashing, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole stream's not going down.
No, that's true. I'm going to leave it on this screen just for a few seconds longer and see if that helps the camera to refresh without having to flick back and forth a few times. I'm going to see. I'm going to try it. Nope.
Naga says, name this episode Beware the Toilets.
This is definitely the plumbing section of the Paranormal Portal.
Plumbing the depths, shall we say?
Ooh, very well. Well played, sir. Well played.
Plumbing the depths of the Paranormal Portal. That's the name. Hey, hey, hey.
There's Don.
Hey.
He's there. Hey. We're coming up, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to see us.
Hey.
I mean, there's a lag between our broadcast and actually seeing it on screen. So there we are.
Hey.
You're still waving. Okay, Don, this isn't a parade. You're not a princess.
Are you, sir? I'd really like to be a princess.
You just don't have the right clothes for it, Don, okay?
All right.
Jeez.
I don't have enough tulle.
Just leave it alone. Read something scary.
Read something scary. This one time at band camp.
Oh, Don.
Oh, well.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm digging for more fun paranormal stories to bring to you.
Ooh.
I don't want to do around the world anymore. Let's just do ghost stories here and see what I find.
How about camping next to a cemetery?
Go ahead. Just take it away, Don.
All right.
We're going to practice your reading.
Wow. Maybe not. This one's a TLDR. Okay, let's go for
it. What's TLDR mean?
Too long to download or read or download.
Oh, well, if it's really long.
So this was called Camping Next to a Cemetery. Just the name, I have to read it. I was still living in Singapore when it happened. I was in 6th grade, I think. Not so sure. But one day it was decided that my class and 2 other classes were going on a camping trip. 3 days, 2 nights. It turned out that the place that we were camping was right next to a cemetery. I don't really remember the place, though. There were 2 long houses made of wood, one for the girls, one for the boys. Inside it were 2 rows of double bunk beds on each side, all the way to the other end. On the first day, we did a lot of activities and etc. When the night came, all the girls and the guys went inside to get ready for bed. These 2 houses had 2 huge double doors, really tall. So everyone was pretty tired and soon drifting off to sleep. I slept on a top bunk. By the way, at this age, I was such a scaredy cat. Back to the story. I suddenly woke up and I don't know why exactly. It was around 2 a.m. I could hear someone making this panic noise, like someone was scared, making these tiny scream noises on the other side in the front row of bunks. So I got up and crawled to the end of the bed to check out what it was. It was dark but I could still see in the dark. My heart was beating faster and faster at this point. I looked around to see where the noise was, and there it was. A girl from the other class was at the bottom of the bunk bed. She was panicking so much and tried to wake up her friend sleeping next to her. Her bed was right next to the huge doors, and so I was wondering what she was scared of until I looked what was right next to her. It was a woman with long white hair, white dirty skin, white dress, and she had an eye on her forehead. The woman was staring at the girl and pointing at her with long nails, and the nails seemed rotten. I just froze. I got so scared, my heart was beating so fast that I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I didn't dare move didn't dare to move, 'cause every time I moved, the bed made noise and the bunks were pretty old. I was afraid that the woman would turn to me if she heard the noise, so I silently watched as the woman reached her finger closer to the girl. Her friend wouldn't wake up, so she quickly jumped over to her friend's side of the bed and hid under the blankets. The woman was still there, though. But I also wanted to hide under my blankets, and so I did as fast and quietly as I could. I didn't even breathe. It was dead quiet. But eventually I drifted off to sleep, and nothing happened after that. On the second night, scary things were happening again, around 9 p.m. when we were in a tiny concert at the outside hall. Then soon it got to be 10 p.m. and my friends and I needed to tinkle. So we went to the outside
It's
toilets.
so funny to hear you say tinkle. Ooh, Don, say tinkle again.
I think I got a tinkle. Tinkle break. I needed to tinkle, so we went outside to the toilets that were far away on the other side of the cemetery. There were 3 of us. We went into the female bathroom, and it was pitch black in there. There were 3 bathroom stalls. The lights did not work. We got creeped out, especially me. We really needed to pee, so one was holding the door open so the light could get in, one to go pee, and one just to stand there, which was me, and wait for my friends to finish peeing. Tinkling. So when she was finished, the other friend went and did her business, and I had to hold the door, and it was finally my turn. Gosh, I was so relieved that it was finally my turn. I'm relieved too. While I was tinkling, my friends were...
I just love when you say that, Don.
Never tinkle alone.
Oh, say it again.
Tinkle, tinkle.
Oh, Marge.
While I was tinkling, my friends that were holding the door open yelled my name to hurry and finish up because they saw this ghost with long black hair on the ceiling where the last stall was. They told me something was there, and I panicked and pulled my pants up and opened the toilet stall door. And by the time my friends saw me coming out, they just ran off. I didn't even care to look at what was on the ceiling. The door almost closed on me, and I quickly opened it as fast as I and ran like hell. I caught up to my friends that were still running. Like, how could they just run and leave me? Gosh. While we were running, we heard a loud running footsteps behind us, which seemed like it was coming faster and faster after us. We didn't want to look back. We just kept on running. All of us screamed like hell and kept running and running. I panicked so much. I didn't know what to do other than run.
Sounds like the Lord of the Rings.
I know. Huh? Fly, you fools.
Aye.
The footsteps were still there. By the time we finally reached the hall where everyone was, we turned around and found nothing. The footsteps were gone also. It was so loud, though. Our hearts were beating like there was no tomorrow. It was then 12 a.m. and everybody was getting ready for bed. This time I was sleeping on the bottom bunk. Everyone went off to sleep, and so did I. The bunk beds on my side were where the windows are right behind us. The windows aren't like normal windows. I don't know how to describe them, but it's really easy to hear from the outside. So then once again, I suddenly woke up. This time it was nearly 4 a.m. Then I started to think of what happened and got so scared. I could hear something from behind, which was outside the window. I didn't really know what it was until it got louder and louder. Yes, the footsteps again. This time it sounded like someone walking really slow. It was even creepier than the previous ones. I tried waking my friend by shaking her really hard, who was sleeping next to me, but she wouldn't wake up. I still heard the footsteps, and my heart was beating really fast. I quickly climbed to my other friend and hid under her blankets. She was still asleep, though. She thought I was a pillow, so she put her leg and her hand over me, and I felt safer. I also fell asleep. It was 8 a.m. when I and everybody else woke up. We packed and left. I never returned to that place again. That's what we get for sleeping next to for camping next to a cemetery, right? Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Rotten fingernails, dirty lady.
That was a long story, though, wasn't it?
It was.
You're really pulling some long ones tonight.
I know, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's good entertainment anyway, ladies and gentlemen.
Good entertainment.
How you doing? You holding together okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Pixie, what is that? A squid? A pink squid? Tinkle, tinkle, little star.
Ride it till it's dead, Don.
Well, you know, it's Pixie's fault. I always blame the Pixie now.
Giddy up. Get a couple more miles out of that one. Old paint. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just still digging here. I'm trying to think of some good keywords to use. I had those other stories. I was like, it just occurred to me before I started reading them. Like, maybe I should make sure I haven't read these before. And sure enough, I had read them. So I'm okay. Digging on the fly.
Well, sure. Let me go ahead and read another one.
Please.
All right. Lady in the Cemetery. I've been a mortician for over 30 years and have seen and heard all sorts of things in funeral homes and cemeteries of a supernatural nature. One such event when I was managing a funeral home in North Alabama in the late 1990s. In that part of the state, there were many There are many country as well as church cemeteries. Gotcha. One such cemetery in particular is the Old Macedonia Church Cemetery. The cemetery is rather small and surrounded by a 6-foot chain-link fence with entrance gates on only one side, located about a football field length behind the church. Most of the markers are upright and too small for anyone to hide behind. Once I had a funeral there in the adjoining church, with the committal to follow immediately after. Being late August, it was very hot. I asked the family to return to the church while the grave was prepared. I watched as the last person turned to enter the church door and then directed the cemetery and vault personnel to proceed. Within 5 minutes, the casket was lowered into the vault and the vault was about to be lowered. Looking towards the church, I noticed an older lady approaching about 25 feet from us. I was taken aback by how she had gotten so close to us so quickly without anyone noticing. I asked the guys to wait just a minute. The lady was dressed in a turquoise-colored Victorian-style maxi dress trimmed with white lace, and as she walked, I could not see her feet or tell if she was wearing any type of shoe. As she passed within a foot of me, I asked her, "How are you today?" She didn't look over at me or even acknowledge that we were there, nor was there any breeze or anything from her passing. In fact, the look on her face was one of determination, as if she was determined to go to a certain spot that she would not take her eyes off of. I watched as she continued to walk by for a minute or so, when one of the guys asked why I had asked them to wait. Looking back at them, I stated, I wanted you to wait while that lady passed. Then they asked, what lady? I responded, that one. To my amazement, the lady was gone. I had looked away for just a second or two. There was no way she could have gotten out of the cemetery or hidden behind a marker. All the guys denied seeing her, and I never described her clothing. Later at the funeral home, I was telling one of the funeral directors about the incident when one of the cemetery personnel stated, "You mean the one in the turquoise dress?" Mm-hmm. It seems he had seen her after all.
Wow. Very cool. Very cool. I wonder if that's more residual as well, since there was no acknowledgement.
Yeah,
was
no
just
interplay
path
between them. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
that it was just A to B, and then it was A to disappearing, and there was no interplay. There was no interaction. There was no acknowledgement even of them being there.
Right. Yeah.
So very interesting. Now I've heard plenty of other stories similar to that, but that the ghost will turn and gaze at the person, and it's a chilling stare, and et cetera, et cetera. But
right.
but interesting. So, I don't know. What do you do? What do you do? What are you snickering at? What happened?
No, you just clean your shorts and keep going.
Yeah, you just stop and scrape your underwear quick and carry on.
Code brown.
Carry on. All right, so I got a few poltergeist cases that I think should be a little fun. Might be a little wordy, but we'll see. I hope you guys can still stick with us a little longer here. You'll have to let us know if you've had your saturation of the portal. But we're having a blast, so I did yawn, and I apologize for that. But they say you just need oxygen in your brain, and so I'm assuming that's my brain was a little oxygen deprived or something. I don't know. Have you ever heard that, Don?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody knows what the hell a yawn is for or what it does, but I've heard that legendary explanation.
Well, it makes sense to me.
Well, it is a deep breath, and you hold it, but it I don't know. I don't know what it does, but anyway. So these are cases of poltergeist encounters, 3 famous cases from thoughtco.com, and it was actually a working link, so... Really? I've had nothing but trouble with thoughtco.com, but because they have so many butchered links and incorrect links in their site. They have great material if you can find it, but it's just getting to it is a trick sometimes. So the first one is called Thornton Health Poltergeist. Geist. I should put the T at the end, right? It's not a poltergeist. It's a geist. Donnie there?
Yes, I'm
Hello,
here.
Is this thing on? Hello?
Well, I'm just wondering.
Test 1,
You've
2.
already said you don't speak German. Poltergeist is a German word, so.
It's a noisy ghost.
Yep.
Yeah, I know that one. Wie geht's? Yep, I know that German too. Ich heißen Brent. That means my name is Brent.
Excellent.
Okay, just to show you that I do know some German. Bratwurst. No, I'm just kidding. Frankfurter Hamburger. Isn't that where hamburger comes from? Is Germany?
No.
There's a town that's called Hamburger.
Yeah, but it's not because hamburger was not.
Way to wreck a legend, Don.
Oh,
I was thinking I was being worldly every time I went through a drive-through.
It's a place in Germany. Well, but hamburgers didn't come from Germany.
They just happened to love the name.
However, Frankfurters did.
All night long, ladies and gentlemen. This is the gift that keeps giving here. Every time we get on the mics. So this is the Thornton Health Poltergeist. In the 1970s, Thornton Heath, rather. It says Health. Look at this.
It does, yeah.
Thornton Health Poltergeist, but then it says Thornton Heath, England. So I don't know which one it is, ladies and gentlemen, but one of those two places has a poltergeist. A family was tormented by a poltergeist phenomenon that started one August night when they were awoken in the middle of the night by a blaring bedside radio that had somehow turned itself on. Tuned to a foreign language station. That's funny. This is the beginning of a string of events that lasted nearly 4 years. Wow. That's incredibly long for a poltergeist. Usually they're just short-lived. But anyway, a lampshade repeatedly was knocked to the floor by unaided hands. During the Christmas season of 1972, an ornament was hurled across the room, smashing into the husband's forehead. Wow. I was expecting a mantle or something, or a fireplace, but it went right to the husband's forehead and smashed. As he flopped into an armchair, reports haunted Croydon, the Christmas tree began to shake violently. Come the new year, and there were footsteps in the bedroom when no one was there, and one night the couple's son awoke to find a man in old-fashioned dress staring threateningly at him. The family's fear grew when, as they entertained friends one night, there was a loud knocking at the front door. The living room door was then flung open, and all the house lights came on. I think we froze, didn't we?
No, we're still good.
No? It will, probably. But
oh, I see, yeah.
Did it? No,
it's
still going.
Keep going.
I'm going to just read it through and then fix it afterwards. Having the house blessed failed to rid the house of the phenomenon. Objects flew through the air, loud noises were heard, and the family would sometimes hear a noise which suggested some large piece of furniture had crashed to the floor. When they went to investigate, nothing would be disturbed. A medium who was consulted told the family the house was haunted by a farmer of the name of Chatterton, who considered the family trespassers on his property. An investigation bore out the fact that he had indeed lived in the house in the mid-18th century. Chatterton's wife now joined in causing mayhem and often the tenant's wife would be followed up the stairs at night by an elderly gray-haired woman wearing a pinafore and with her hair tied back in a bun. If looked at, she would disappear back into the shadows. The family even reported seeing the farmer appear on their television screens wearing a black jacket with wide pointed lapels, high-neck shirt, and black cravat. After the family moved out of the house, the poltergeist activity ceased, and none have been reported by the subsequent residents. That's very interesting.
Okay, we are froze.
I knew we would be.
The video is froze. Yeah, it froze like a half a second after you mentioned it.
Yeah, I could see. I saw the light flicker on the laptop, which generally tells me it's on or off. But in this case, I got to recycle it twice as usual, and one more time we should be live. Boom! There we are. That's the magic of technology.
Wow.
Yep. Wow. That's how it works.
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Harry. A something good one once you train up a bit.
Good one.
Sorry. Instead of Hagrid, it was Homer.
Homerid.
Homerid. I should not have told you that. All right. Yeah, there we go. The next one is the Enfield poltergeist case, and Enfield is very, very well known, if this is the same one. But I got a chirp in my ear. Did you hear that, Don?
I did.
Oh, it's yes, we did. Are you doing YouTube Live this evening? Why, yes. Yes, we are. Live currently. Okay. All right, so there we go. I just had to answer somebody that messaged me directly and said, "Are you guys doing the YouTube Live?" Interesting. 3 most famous cases. Enfield poltergeist case. Another English ghost, this one in Enfield, North London, made headlines in 1977. The strange activity seemed to center around the daughter of Peggy Harper, a divorcee in her mid-40s. Again, it started on an August night. That's weird. I'm hearing a high-pitched noise in my ear. Late at night, an urban ghost story relates Janet, aged 11, and her brother Pete, aged 10, complained that their beds were jolting up and down, going all funny. As soon as Mrs. Harper got to the room, the movements had stopped. As far as she was concerned, her kids were making it all up. But things got progressively more bizarre from there. Shuffling noises and knocks on the wall were followed by a heavy chest of drawers sliding itself across the floor. Mrs. Harper promptly got her children out of the house and sought the assistance of a neighbor. The neighbors searched the house and garden but found no one. Soon they also heard the knocks on the walls, which continued at spaced-out intervals. At 11 p.m., they called the police, who heard the knocks. An officer even saw a chair inexplicably move across the floor, and later signed a written statement to confirm the events. Several people were witness to the events that occurred in the following days. Lego bricks and marbles were thrown around the house and often hot to the touch. In September of that year, Maurice Gross of the Society for Psychical Research came to investigate. Gross claims that he experienced the strange happenings. First, a marble was thrown at him from an unseen hand. He saw doors open and close by themselves and claimed to feel a sudden breeze that seemed to move up from his feet to his head. Gross was later joined in the investigation by writer Guy Lyon Playfair, and together they studied the case for 2 years. The knocking on walls and floors became an almost nightly occurrence. Furniture slid across the floor and was thrown down the stairs. Drawers were wrenched out of dressing tables. Toys and other objects would fly across the room. Bedclothes would be pulled off. Water was found in mysterious puddles on the floors. There were outbreaks of fire followed by their inexplicable extinguishing. The case became decidedly unnerving when the spirits revealed themselves through Janet. Speaking in a deep, gravelly voice through Janet, the spirit announced that his name was Bill, and he had died in the house, a fact that has been verified. The voices and the phenomenon have been recorded on tape and film, and Playfair has written a book about the case called This House is Haunted. Despite the documentation, however, much controversy surrounds the case. Skeptics claim that the case is nothing more than the work of a very clever, mischievous girl, Janet. The poltergeist activity always stopped when she was watched closely, And when she was taken to a hospital for several days to be tested for physical or mental abnormality, the phenomenon ceased in the house. Some researchers believe that Janet taught herself to speak in the strange male voice, and that photos of her levitating in her bedroom merely caught her jumping off her bed. Was this poltergeist case the result of attention-seeking 11-year-old? Now, usually in poltergeist activities, and that's not the way I've heard this described. I've heard it described as a demonic issue in this house for the Enfield case, but both. I guess I've heard both poltergeist and demonic haunting, but in any case, generally they are attached to a person. So if Janet was taken out of the house and tested, then perhaps her absence was what created the pause or delay in activity. And I have seen the pictures they're talking about, and it does look like she could be jumping off the bed, but I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't really question it, other than it could very well be.
Was that the one that the movie was based on?
Which movie?
The Conjuring 2.
Perhaps. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't watch horror movies generally, so I don't know. But I am kind of interested in seeing...
well, they didn't mention the Warrens in that either, because the Warrens were part of...
Oh, no, that's not the one.
That's not it then.
No, it's not. Do you got another story, Don?
Sure.
Why don't you take it for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Did I read this one?
I don't know.
Yes, she was in a turquoise dress, so I'll skip that one. All right. How about The Girl in the Cemetery? This one's not too long. Okay, I can do this one in just a couple seconds here. A little longer than that. All right, so The Girl in the Cemetery. After posting my first story about Nan visiting me, I have decided to share an encounter that my mom had a few years ago, around 2001. My Nan sadly passed away at the young age of 43 when my mom was only 19 and was buried in the local cemetery. When my granddad passed 16 years later in September, he was laid to rest with my Nan. The story was around that time, just after the new headstone had been added, so around autumn-winter time in the UK. My mom went to tend to their graves as she and my auntie did often. They hated seeing the grave empty or of dying flowers, so they would go every few days. I'm not sure how old the grounds are, but there are graves and tombs on the site that are no longer legible. My grandparents' grave is a prime spot to everything. A 2-minute walk from the chapel of rest along the side road, front and center of a row, about 6 other graves with many following behind. Opposite the graves are 3 benches, and to the right of them is a bin and a water tap. Anyway, my mom was just adding some new flowers to the pots when a girl approached her. My mom described the girl as being in her 20s, and she was wearing just a white cotton dress, and asked my mom where she could get water from. My mom pointed to the one by our family graves and a few others around the site. She thanked my mom and walked away. It dawned on my mom that it was a strange sight to see in the middle of such a cold day. She stood looking around but couldn't see this girl. She got into her car to drive around the cemetery looking for her, heading in the direction she went. It had only been a few minutes and no one had driven past, but this girl was nowhere to be seen. My mom believes that she saw a spirit that day, perhaps a girl who no longer has family to tend her grave. Perhaps it's just a person grieving. It was just an event that stuck in my mom's mind for years. I believe it's because she was grieving herself and she was able to be more in tune with another spirit. There you go.
That's cool.
That is a good one, and unfortunately she didn't know which grave was the girl's, so maybe that would help the girl rest a little bit.
Right.
A few flowers every now and then, or somebody to walk by and notice. So yeah.
Right. I'm just looking for a short story. Apparently the chat room has voted that I have to read one in a Homer voice.
Yes, you do.
So I am looking for something that's quick, because it's one thing to talk in a voice, but it's another thing to read a whole story in it. So I want it to be quick and painless. Oh, God.
Let's see here. This one's called The Flasher. No.
Is it long?
No, it's not very long, but let's see here. Well, The Flasher in Homer's voice, that would be kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. It's tough, though, because it takes a certain shape of your throat to make a different voice, and it's tough to hold. Oh, geez. That's really long. Do you got another one while I dig?
Sure. Pixie's just laughing her butt off.
Thanks, Pixie.
She's just so excited. Let's see here. So, creepiest cemetery of all. Let's see here. Yep, this is a good one. Okay, so this is creepiest cemetery of all. If you're ever up for a creepy experience, go to the Blandford Cemetery in Petersburg, Virginia. I've been to a lot of cemeteries, but this one in particular is the scariest. I go there to visit my dead family members, such as my Aunt Patricia, who died at 6 months old, so I never met her. But every time I go, I feel as if I'm being watched. My family and I took pictures of her grave. In every picture, there were strange lights surrounding her grave, and our cameras have died whenever we've tried to take certain amounts of photos, regardless of a full battery. Another creepy experience I had is one day me and my sister visited, and it was in the summer, so the temperature was way too hot, but the moment we got out of the car, the temperature dropped dramatically. I checked my phone